Hello, darling. This is River Roaring, celebrating the luminous life force in us all. Hello, darling. I'm River Roaring. Have you been ravished or worshipped today, my darling? Yet? The day is young, my dear. Today I want to talk about ravishing or worshipping another being in a sexual way, and also being ravished or worshipped. Last week or the week before, I'm thinking of a specific session with a specific client. So I have a private client program where I work with people one-on-one in a very deep way. Thankfully, I get to do that with my life, and my VIP clients are called keystones. So I was with one of my keystones, and it's in the latter part of his program, so he's already learned so many things. And we set everything up so that I could ravish or worship him. And sometimes we call it take. It was my turn to take. And so what does that even mean? It means that I dropped down into a place inside myself that's way beneath the words and way beneath my logical thinking mind. I turned all of that off. I let the past fall away. I let the future fall away. And I came exquisitely into the eternal moment of now. I then set the timer because why? Why did I set a timer? Because I'm about to go somewhere time doesn't exist, and I don't want to exist in time. So I set the timer so I could be stopped by the outside world, because I would not have a way to stop myself inside that space. Then I said, darling, may I take you for my own pleasure? May I have you, your entire body? And my client knows from all of our work together that he always has a limit. And I can talk about that later on how to be ravished. But right now, it was my turn, baby. So I said, okay, darling, lay back. And I let myself get into a more and more relaxed space inside my own body. I let go of all the words, language, thinking, future, past, meanings of everything, knowing what day it was or what planet I was on. And I turned myself into a sensory experiencer, a primal or primordial entity, which is existing fully in my senses, in my sensory experience, in my sensations on my skin, the sounds that were there, the visuals. And I moved and shifted into a sensory being, and I gazed upon my subject and the beauty, the textures that were there in front of me, the colors, the life signs, the smile, and every single part of my client became a sensory playground. And I started to play, ever more relaxed and ever more inside my sensory awareness of the feel of his skin on my hand, the feel of the hair on his body which sent chills throughout my entire body. And I began what unfolded throughout our time to ravish, worship, delight in at the highest possible level, where every single cell in my body was full of desire. Because it's only in that relaxed place, I'm sure you know, my dear listener, from other podcasts, where I find my primordial desire, my soul's wisdom, what my soul is hungry for with this specific feast. And there in that place, I was nothing but pure desire, ravishing, feasting, worshiping my subject. And my own body was feeling ripples and ripples and waves of pleasure, because I was solely in a sensory experience, and that is a very rich and rewarding place for a human being to exist, my darling. And a couple of days, I'll get back to the session and what happened in just a minute, but a couple of days went by and my client wrote me. These are my client's words. Our session was wonderful. The key takeaway is how sexy it was to be an object of desire, to be taken and letting it happen to me. Slow and really getting into it is arousing for me. The slower you went, the more aroused I was. I don't think I've ever been taken before, devoured before. I'm trying to remember any time with a woman or anyone where I've been that object of desire before, and I don't think I have. I've always had to be in dom mode, which is interesting. If I dive into that deeper, it doesn't feel like I've been seen before, if you know what I mean. I feel like my sexual partners have played with the mask and the armor, but not with me. It's a lot sexier playing with me rather than the armor. I can see now it's that taking is pleasurable for the other person. How it's not twisted and controlling to ravish someone else. It's more a natural expression of curiosity and love, at least when it's done right. We obviously can be done not right, but if it is done right. Isn't that beautiful? And what my client found out was that to be seen fully and in the sexual way to be desired fully is to be ravished and ultimately to be worshipped for exactly who he is in exactly that moment, with no changes and no need to do anything, to earn anything. Just the way he existed was delightful through my body in ripples and waves through every cell. And to be the object of that kind of desire is something he had never experienced before. And how many of us have? Have you ever been desired to the point of worship? And then he said more. I want to say more about the session. The other thing about it was the connection. It was a heartfelt connection in a way that was very clean, if that makes sense. It was, the word clean comes to mind. It was sort of, there was no stepping over boundaries or any form of manipulation or any form of deceit or angst or any of those things. It was pure, just very pure. I can see now that my love life is going to be a lot more fulfilling being with the right person who knows how to take or ravish me from the heart. And then later he says in reflection, it was how connected it was, how the energy seemed to come back to me multiple times, and how we're all connected, and how loving others, showing that desire in touching and being with someone, how that is essentially a form of self-love. We're all connected, and I see how doing that with someone else is a profound act of self-love. I was so touched by my client's words. He's so correct. It's loving for me to be able to let myself be ravished and worshipped. It's loving for me to be with the other person in my full, unbridled, deepest desire state and ravish them. And the reason I'm making this podcast and the reason I'm talking about this is because I perceive that it's possible that not everyone is getting ravished and worshipped, and I just can't stand to think about a world like that. It's just not right. Because what we're taught more commonly in our culture, which is so backward with sexuality, is that it's better to give than to receive. So what would have happened if I got together with my client at that moment I just told you about? But what would have happened if I went in and I was like, oh, what would you like right now? And I didn't do anything till he said like, I'll like this right now. Like, oh, okay. And like, what if I went in there and just tried to please him and guess what he might like? Which I think is what our culture is mainly doing. It is not always better to give than to receive. I went into this time with my client and I received fully the gift of the experience for me. There was not a moment in the entire time until the timer went off when I had one fleeting thought about him or what he might want or like, because that was not the agreement and the role I was taking. It was not to please him, to caretake him, to wonder if he likes my touch. First of all, that is a purely mental place to be. It is very shallow because the logical mind is very busy thinking about what to do next and why to do it. That's by definition shallow when my thinking mind is involved in talking to me. And I'm going to have more natural anxiety. I'm not going to be relaxed in my body if my thinking mind is like, I wonder if he likes this. I wonder if I should touch him harder, softer, faster, slower. I don't know what he likes. No, that would have been me trying to give the experience to him. But in our culture, we are taught so much that we're supposed to give, especially in the bedroom. I've met so many men in my sexual healing career, or I'll say sexual healing facilitation career. I'm not actually healing anyone, they're healing themselves, but I am facilitating a space for sexual healing, and I have been for some 15 years. And in that time, many, many men, especially the men, many, many men have told me, I am an evolved and good lover, River. Oh, really? Tell me about that. I'll tell you how I know. It's because I make sure she has an orgasm first. Or a variation on that I've been told is, I make sure she has at least 2 orgasms first before I have my orgasm. And then sometimes the person knows that they're a really great lover because they tell me, I know I'm a great lover because I give her many orgasms before I have my own orgasm. And I understand the beauty of what is being expressed there, and I understand the innocence behind the comment. And at the same time, inside myself, I'm always like, I feel kind of sad hearing that. Because what you're sharing with me is that you give in bed. You give. until it's finally your turn to take a little bit for yourself and have your orgasm, or quote unquote rub one off, or have your quote unquote genital sneeze, which is this like fast, quick orgasm, which is supposed to be your turn and everything you've ever wanted, which it isn't for anyone. So what's the problem with a guy saying, I am a very great lover, and here's how I'll prove that. I give her an orgasm first. Number one, there's a script right there. There's a script right there. That is scripted sex. It's by definition performative. Right there. That's what that sentence means. Secondly, giving her the orgasms means that the woman is going to feel that pressure that you are trying to get a goal. So it's also where goal-oriented sex lives. In this innocent generosity is scripted sex, performative sex, goal-oriented sex, pressure on the other person to perform an orgasm. And in addition, if both people go to bed in the bedroom and both people enter the sexual experience wanting to give a great time to the other, then you and I are going to be playing some kind of bizarre fencing in the way of sword fighting. We're going to have this weird wrestling match going on between me trying to please you without asking you what you want, and you trying to please me, and we're both taking stabs in the dark, and we're both guessing what the other person wants, and we're both so busy trying to perform the pleasing activities for the other that, am I in my own deepest desire if I'm doing that? Oh, hell no. I'm not. My desire hasn't entered the room. I'm busy trying to push the buttons for you that make you squeal. And you're trying to push the buttons that make me squeal. And we're just basically hitting up against each other in this really awkward, angst-ridden sword fight of empty sex. Because no one's desire is showing up. We all were taught it was better to give than to receive, and we're all trying to give our asses off and serve the other, and everyone's serving, and nobody actually wants anything that's happening. Desires it. So when I stepped in with my client, I let all of those things go because that's what our agreement was. Darling, may I have you until the timer goes off? Yes, you may. Thank you, darling. There's nothing about where I was that was trying to see if I could please him. I was being pleased very deeply by his very essence of being. So it takes me over to the next part of my client's share that I want to share with you, because I thought he was extremely profound in his reflections on our session. And so he's saying that the flip side of this, meaning when he thinks about himself ravishing me, the flip side of all this, the more I lean into what I genuinely want and take, the more the other person will like it, which is an incredibly profound thing. It's so counterintuitive. Also, the more I slow down and the more I listen to my desire, the more genuine I can be. And the more I switch off the thinking, performing, analyzing, stop that logical thinking mind, that AI piece, which our logical thinking mind is almost exactly like learning language model AI. He's so correct. Stop that AI piece of my mind during these intimate moments, the better off I am. All of which is so counterintuitive and so counterculture to what we've been told. Why isn't this taught in the kink community where he is? Why is this not discussed? Oh, I share his question. Why is this not taught to every human being? Why does it seem so counterintuitive that the more I go into what I want in the sexual sense, the better it will be for you and me? Why? Why are we taught so backwardly? Why have we been so oppressed by this other idea that we don't need to have our desire show up when we're having sex? So I personally believe, this is just my personal belief, I personally believe that our culture's sexual oppression is extremely intentional and extremely carefully designed by oppressors, because if an entire culture has lost their sexuality, their drive, their creative life force drive, which is led by desire, what do they have left? You have now a culture with the most powerful force in their body, their sexual energy, completely removed from them under the theory that they're going to be really nice guys and please and serve all the time, guys and gals, caretaking others at every opportunity. That is an oppressed culture. That culture has lost its most powerful life force, sexual desire, drive, and that culture has also lost its ability to know what it wants, and it's only here to serve and please. You think that would be a nice state to have an entire culture in if you were the oppressor, where everyone was trained into serving all the time and giving and just doing for others all the time? You think that might benefit someone at the top? Yeah, I say it has, and I say it's over. Because now we're waking up to the power of our own desire and our own ability to ravish and worship and take another solely for my desire. And I'll say fully by agreement. So what I want to talk about right now for a little bit is the art of being ravished or worshipped or taken by a lover. Because as I said in the beginning, my experience with this client was after he'd already been trained by me for a little while. This was not our first day together. And so therefore, my client knew very, very well how to be ravished and how to be worshipped, because there is an art to that. And here's the most fundamental component of that. If you are going to enter into an agreement to be ravished by the other, if your lover is going to let all their desire out of the box the best they can, at the deepest levels, primordially interact with you as a feast, there is something very important to keep in mind, my darling, as the feast, which is you are solely responsible for your own experience. You are solely responsible for your own sexual experience and your own entire experience during this ravishing, where you become the feast on the table to be consumed primally and delighted in every single bit of the other person's body and worshipped. That doesn't mean that you are like some kind of limp rag, or you don't have any job. You have the very important job of being solely responsible for your own experience. Meaning, does it mean that you're going to start following your own desire? No, because the agreement was it's time for them to follow their desire and have what they want. But the agreement means I, as a person who is giving you my body or giving you the experience that you desire and serving the feast to you, which is me, I, in the giving position, am only going to do what I'm willing to do for you with an open heart. Meaning that if any part of my body is signaling to me, River, you don't want this to go on anymore. You won't want to be here. You want this to stop. I'm going to immediately say to my partner, I'm at a limit. And so we need to check in or stop right now. I'm not feeling like giving any further. So the person who's being ravished and being devoured, so to speak, has a very important role to play, which is sole responsibility for only giving any portion of the experience, only giving, only allowing it to happen if I'm in an open-hearted giving space. Yes, my darling, have me, take me, I'm yours, my darling, devour me, my love. With an open heart. The minute my body itself starts to tell me, oh, you don't want to be here anymore, the second I start to endure anything, tolerate anything, the second I start to wish I weren't there, resent anything that's happening, it's my job as the ravishee, as the devoured, as the feast itself, it's my job to speak up immediately and say, that's my limit, darling. Let's check in or stop. I'm not feeling it anymore. I'm not giving with an open heart anymore. So I'm doing my promise to you, which is to let you know immediately. Because, my darling, I know you only want to feast on me if I'm an open-hearted gift to you. Open-hearted gift to you. So it's with the training and the artistry, and this training on both sides and the artistry of ravishing and being ravished takes practice and training. Sorry guys, you're just going to have to practice pleasure and train on having a lot more pleasure. Just kidding about the apology there. Our bodies learn into these patterns until they can become second nature, darling. So again, there's an art of ravishing, which I've talked about, an art of worship of the other, the art of taking. And for it all to go well, there's an art of being ravished and worshipped and taken and becoming the feast. So for the whole sexual experience to come off really beautifully and for everyone to be really, really expanded and high and super intoxicated afterward, it takes both sides playing their role fully and fully dedicating to the roles I just spelled out here. It can't happen if the giver isn't solely responsibility for their own experience. Why? Because then they're going to do things they wish they hadn't done, and then frequently after that comes resentment and sometimes blame and punishment of the ravisher, even when we didn't really actually ask them to stop. So it's both people have a full-on, really exciting, simple but not easy role to play, which can be learned 100%. 100% can be learned. And that is exactly what I do for a living. So just to finish off a few more pieces of what my client was sharing about here in his share afterward, because I think it's just all so profound, is that he was talking about actually learning it, and so he was saying, he was talking about himself when it's been my turn in the past to take the other person, to do what I want in sex. When someone else turns to him and says, it's your turn, darling, what would you like? Right? So he says, when it's been my turn in the past to ravish, there's been in the past a script in my head. There's a thing running, an algorithm or a program or a thought process, whatever you want to call that thing, like an automatic little process that has to run to communicate, has to watch boundaries, has to do all these things. And I can get why, again, being a sub is compelling in a way that I don't think I understood before. Now, this client is in the kink scene, and so he's been a dom or dominant in the kink scene. That's why he's using the words dom and sub. But he's saying that, oh, I never understood how this process, how deep it all was. And he says further, I feel like this dynamic that I now understand because I've experienced it in real life with you, this dynamic of truly ravishing and being ravished, is a piece of the puzzle that's missing, that people don't discuss it in the kink community. People talk about getting a sub into the subspace and how that feels good and that's pleasurable, and almost the goal of being a dom is to knock someone into subspace. But nobody really discusses it, that it's just, they just say it's like pleasurable, let go. So he's talking about how it's just not really taught, even in spaces where they're teaching sexuality, and in the kink community, which I have been a very excited part of for 20 years here in Austin. And for maybe 13 years, I organized the East Austin Kinksters group. And I love the kink community. And even in the kink community where they're literally teaching power exchange, they're missing the point of what I would call true power exchange. This is River talking. And then he's really honest. Here's my client again. In retrospect, I'm still afraid to take what I want. There's a fear of rejection, a fear of asking for too much, a fear of feeling stupid for asking. It's almost like I need to have a strategy, which is thinking thing, I know, in the mind, to asking, to stepping it up like you did with me. I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can trust myself. And I love the honesty there. And the beauty of this specific human being is, oh yeah, he's learning, and he is definitely going to be finishing off that learning and be extremely good at this, because we are having a beautiful amount of one-on-one time privately. He is a keystone in my Keystone program, which is a private one-on-one training that I do. I only handle a few clients at a time because it's a very intense program. And if you're interested in the one-on-one training as a Keystone, take a look at my website. I train people in a 7-month container, and it works really well whether you live in Austin, Texas, where I am, or whether you travel in for our in-person time. And the program has a lot more to it than our in-person time. It's a complete retraining. And I do have 2 openings for new Keystones in September, which I'm interviewing for right now. So having said that on the side there, this person is going to have a lot of time to practice and finish learning how to be a fantastic ravisher, and how to ravish and be ravished, worship and be worshipped. And what he says to finish off is, this is my client speaking. I think you are slowly rewiring me, River, and in a good way, or unwinding me. I think I don't know what the phrase is to use. Demasking, unwinding, rewiring, reprogramming, deprogramming, I don't know. But I'm thankful for it. I really, genuinely appreciate what you're doing. And I really, that's the end of his words and the beginning of my words again. I really, genuinely appreciate you for listening today to this podcast and for considering what I'm talking about. Have you been ravished or worshipped or devoured or feasted on today properly, my darling? Yet, because the day is young. And I want to finish off also by saying that these lessons about giving gifts and receiving gifts from others, like the gift of their body for your pleasure, those are very fractal concepts, and they're very symbolic of really all of life. And so I notice that I am here on earth as a mission. My mission is definitely to serve others. There's no doubt about it. My mission on earth as a spiritual being, my soul's mission, is to serve others. There's no doubt about it. And at the same time, I am completely will fail at serving others if that's all I do. If all I do is give to others, I will fail at my goal of having a life of service. Why? Because I will drain myself and exhaust myself and have nothing to draw from. So in a life of service, a spiritual life of being here to serve others, which I am in, there's a good portion of the time that I exist here on earth that I am receiving gifts for myself. After I get done with this podcast, I'm going to walk outside and spend about 3 or 4 hours outside in nature, in the sun, and in Mother's living waters for me, to nourish me. Because in order to be a great server of others, I necessarily must nourish myself and give myself a lot of gifts for 2 really big reasons. Number 1, so I'm full and have anything to give that's worth a shit. I'm not just going to give an exhausted river, like, oh, can I help you? I don't really have any energy, but what can I do for you? That's not a gift. I'm like, hey, I am so refreshed. I'm so revived from having all the gifts to myself and being so well nourished. What can I do for you, darling? I'm on fire. That's how we really give and serve others. That means we have to take a good amount of time to receive gifts from the universe and fill ourselves up. And the other thing about it is, if I never fill myself up and find all my own desire, how in the heck do I know how I am best to serve? The only way I know what my highest gifts are, my soul's gifts for humanity, the only way I know that is to search my own desires. My desire, and my highest level desire, my darling, is to facilitate spaces for sexual healing. And I would never know that if I hadn't chased my desire into all of its crazy edges and found my wildest desires. And in doing that, I now know where I want to direct my life of service, and I stay full enough of gifts of my own so I have something to give others, my darling. This also goes for relationships. If you're always giving in the relationship, you're going to get drained. Just that simple. We live in a culture full of people who are drained and exhausted because they're always trying to give. They're not getting something for self. It's part of life. That's actually an essential ingredient to being human. Receiving gifts for self, nourishing, and self-love. And that goes for all of life's tasks. You'll be exhausted if you're always giving. And you're just not here for that. It's in spite of what our oppressors have tried to pound into our beings. And so, of course, in the bedroom, we've talked about it throughout this podcast. You are not here just to give in the bedroom sexually. It's a sad existence. We can do better. And spiritually, I'm here to follow my own desire, which leads me to the highest level of service of others, my darling. So, have you been ravished today? Have you been worshipped today? Have you been feasted upon today? Yet, the day is young, my darling, And if you'd like training in this, please come and join us for the weekend workshop, July 24th to 26th in Austin, Texas. Come to my website, riverroaring.com. We often have more people here in the workshop from out of state than in state. So if you don't live in Austin, that's no problem. What are you going to do for your vacation this summer? Could you do anything more wonderful and important with your vacation this summer than learn to ravish and take and devour life and combine that? The weekend workshop gives us a beautiful, spacious amount of time for me to train a small group of people and facilitate space for you. And when you join us, you'll have lots of space in the weekend to not just learn, but practice in very gentle, guided, simple practices that start becoming more and more sophisticated through the weekend as you learn and train your body gently in a relaxed and safe enough environment so that you can find these pieces of yourself which exist way down deep inside, your primal or primordial desire, which is not based on thinking about anything, your primal desire, and your primal open-heartedness and ability to say when enough is enough. And we have some very beautiful skills. Even if you're thinking of working one-on-one with me, please start with the weekend workshop if you can at all. Join us July 24th to 26th. The workshops do not happen very often, and I think they might start becoming less often in the future. So please join us right now this summer, 2026, July 24th to 26th. Jump on my website, grab your ticket, sign up for a free call with me, apply for a free phone call if you want to talk it over or ask some questions, and we will begin your path and your journey down the very road that I'm talking about in this podcast. What could be a more beautiful way to spend your money, time, and energy on your summer vacation this summer? If you live in Austin, you get a really cheap round trip, darling. I'm right in central Austin, easy parking. So please come on over to my website at riverroaring.com, click on Weekend Workshop, and even if you're considering the one-on-one work, let's spend the weekend together first in this small group and get to know one another, and let me help you get started with this training process right then and there. Why wait till September? Are you ready, darling? Are you ready to learn to ravish and be ravished, and to take that into all of life so that your life force is luminous, darling? That's what makes a life force luminous. I want to hear from you. Please leave a comment. Actually, the easiest way to get to me is definitely an email, my darling, through my website, riverroaring.com. Jump on the site, riverroaring.com, and up in the right-hand corner is Let's Connect, Let's Talk River, and there you have a way to share any question, reflection, or insight that you have. And also, if you want to apply for a free call, that's where you do it. Mark your calendar right now for July 24th to 26th in Austin, Texas this summer for your training, and consider it the first day of the rest of your life, darling. On the webpage for the weekend workshop, which is on my website, Weekend Workshop, you will see a lot of videos of past participants from the workshop who are sharing with you what it's meant for their life. So I do invite you warmly invite you to join us for this very unique and very rare weekend workshop where you have an entire weekend of training, learning, practice, sharing, and getting to know some other very beautiful humans. Because, my darling, I am on earth to support those who are called to bring maximum love and light into their lives. Is that you, darling? Liberating your self-expression in all the realms where all is sacred, especially our sexuality, and connecting with you to create a cosmic web of love and light throughout the realms. Right now, as we are together in this podcast, we create a cosmic web of love and light. And let me give you an example. Let's pause for a moment while I send you a big wave of love in your moment of now, whenever it is you're listening to this. And pause and see if you can feel my love coming toward you whenever and wherever you are listening to this, because that's how we're connected. Could you feel it, my darling? Could you feel my love coming to you? And now I want to pause and give you a chance to send your love back to me from your moment of now, wherever you are, back into where I am right now, and I'll stop and feel you. Beautiful, darling. Yes, I could feel that. There's some powerful listeners out there sending love. Thank you. I love it. That's the cosmic, multi-dimensional web of love and light, which is not constricted to time or space, my darling. Together, we can step in to a more harmonious vibration. Together, we can fly higher, shifting human consciousness forever for the highest good of all beings. And so, my darling, may the love be with you. And until next week, may the love be with us all.